Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Just concerning this tunnel, you'll remember the interesting article, the New York Daily News, Wednesday, September 8th, in response to what Obama was saying about infrastructure, the New York Daily News, Kenneth R. Bazinet in the Washington Bureau, contributed an article, 50 Billion Ways to Sway the Voter. That is to say, great projects of infrastructure for the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area, the tri-state area. So it's multi-state. This is the federal government better get involved. And as part of this tunnel was included on the list. So I'm on record supporting that tunnel, which the tin horn demagogue Christie, the saboteur of the United States, right, the party of sabotage and subversive destruction, has struck, right, doing more than any foreign saboteur could ever do, more than a terrorist could ever do in terms of shutting down transportation in the New York area. Now, we have Senator Frank Lautenberg of New Jersey says, Christie's cancellation of the project is one of the biggest policy blunders in New Jersey's history. It's correct. You don't have to like Lautenberg to realize this is true from any point of view of national interest, America's future. How exceptional is that, right? You hear these guys always yelling, we're the party of American exceptionalism. Yeah, right. You can't even build a tunnel under the river of your largest city so that you can connect New York City to all those points west, including above all New Jersey, with all those commuters who are having so much trouble, right, because the trains get stuck in the tunnel. And those are Amtrak trains, New Jersey Transit trains, and so forth. Lautenberg goes on to say, without increased transportation options into Manhattan, New Jersey's economy eventually will be crippled. Yes, crippled. So the federal funding had already been put in. The federal government and the Port Authority, multi-state authority of New York and New Jersey, had each pledged $3 billion to the tunnel, so that's $6 billion. New Jersey had committed $2.7 billion. Project is being run by New Jersey Transit. New Jersey Assemblyman John Wisniewski, the Transportation Committee of the New Jersey State Assembly, says Christie's advisors have inflated the cost of building the tunnel to justify the governor's decision to use the money on small road and rail projects, probably to dribble it out among his fat cat campaign contributors, right, in the form of corporate welfare for mafia front companies or God knows what. The Regional Planning Association says Christie is using fuzzy math. His claim that he supports the tunnel and related projects, but he said I support it, but we couldn't do it because it's going to cost too much. This is most likely not true, says this group in a statement. So all kinds of jobs will be lost. The commuters at Penn Station who are getting ready to go across the river through the tunnel are also not happy. Christie will not tax millionaires. Here's what we ought to do. 0% federal credit. Pass a law. Senator Lautenberg, get busy. Pass a law saying the Federal Reserve is hereby directed by law under penalties of incarceration if you don't do it to issue $5 billion in 0% 100-year credit, right? If you're building these tunnels, we've already seen the existing one has lasted 100 years, and they're still planning to keep using it for another 100. So after 100 years, we can issue a bond today that the Federal Reserve will buy, a 0% coupon, 100-year bond to build that tunnel so that New York and New Jersey and Connecticut do not die as a result of lacking economic development. Essentially, the jobs at stake in the tunnel, 6,000 construction jobs right away, and 40,000 jobs as a result of the spin-offs and economic effect after it's completed. And the alternatives are these little piddling, inconsequential things that Christie wants. Again, much easier to siphon off the money. So this is the problem of the United States in a nutshell. So we need to build that infrastructure. Now we can comment on a couple of other things that have happened. The Nobel Committee, right? We see the insanity of these Scandinavian oligarchs, feudal aristocrats primarily. They last year gave the Nobel Peace Prize to Obama, and they made themselves into the mockery and laughingstock of the world. Now, this past week they've done two things. And the first one is they've given the Nobel Prize for Literature to one of the most reactionary thugs of Latin America, and that is Vargas Llosa of Peru. Now, in terms of turgid, unreadable, existentialist novel writing, absolute nadir of quality of literary output, Vargas Llosa undoubtedly takes the palm. But the other thing that they've done then is, after having made that nod to the extreme right in the person of Vargas Llosa, they've then gone ahead and given the Nobel Peace Prize to this human rights activist, in his name, Liu Xiaobo. Liu Xiaobo has been considered, you could see it coming for the last several days, maybe weeks, that this so-called human rights activist was going to be the recipient of this Nobel Peace Prize. Beijing, very angry. They say it is blasphemy. Well, I don't know about blasphemy, but you can see the idea. It is the Dalai Lama is one of the people who's most delighted with this. The Dalai Lama says this was a great idea, that it was good to give this award to Liu Xiaobo. So this is all an unfortunate, tragic mockery, and it's an attempt to interfere into the internal political affairs of China. And whatever they think they're going to get out of it, I doubt they will, but they're also going to force the Chinese to take a demonstrably harder line at the IMF. Now, when Wen Jiabao gave his interview to the Financial Times this week, and essentially he was saying, back off, do not pressurize China, meaning don't put us under pressure, don't arm twist us in terms of the value of our currency. We're not going to do it, because we would then face these huge internal dislocations, factory shutdowns, mass unemployment, political turbulence, political and social instability. And the watchword of the Chinese Communist Party is stability, and they're going to keep their currency controls, exchange controls, which they have wisely put in place. They're going to keep their state sector especially powerful in the banking area. So that's not a surprise. In terms of the meeting at the IMF, some people have talked about the Plaza Accords and the Louvre Accords. Let's just cover those in the remaining minutes. In 1985, the dollar was tremendously high as a result of the Volcker interest rate policy. You'll remember that Paul Adolf Volcker, appointed by Carter but reinstated then also by Reagan, had driven the U.S. prime rate to 22%. That's a prime rate, which most people didn't get. Most people were paying more. This drove the United States currency into the stratosphere compared to everybody else. This was when Thatcher, in tears, called Reagan and said they had to do something to prevent the dollar from getting to be worth more than the pound, because the pound was going to slip below the dollar for the first time in history, and Reagan acquiesced in this. The answer to this was the Plaza Currency Accords of 1985, and the goal of the Plaza Accords, masterminded by James Baker III, Secretary of the Treasury then, was to lower the price of the dollar. Now, this was easy to do. You can always lower the price of the dollar. In February 1987, they then followed with the Louvre Accords. The Louvre Accords were to stop the dollar from going down, and that didn't work too well, and the other measures that were used led directly into the stock market crash of October 1987, when Greenspan raised the U.S. discount rate to stabilize the dollar. That pulled the rug out from under the stock market, and we had that panic. But the real comparison is September 1931, Ramsey MacDonald devalues the pound, stops payment on gold, and starts competitive devaluation and beggar my neighbor, and that's where we are right now. So fight back with fixed parities, for the world monetary system and exchange controls, capital controls in the short run for self-defense. And we'll see you next week on World Crisis Radio.